It started like any other quiet evening in Maple Hollow. The sun had just dipped behind the treetops, casting long golden streaks across the quiet countryside. Wind whispered through the tall grass. Birds fell silent, and somewhere far off, single rumble of thunder rolled low across the hills, soft, almost gentle, like a warning politely clearing its throat, inside a cozy white farmhouse at the edge of the woods. Everything was still. Baby Emma, just 14 months old, lay nestled in her crib, swaddled in soft blankets. Her room glowed with the warm hum of a nightlight shaped like a little bear, the kind of light that made shadows look friendly, and there, at the foot of her crib, lay Max. Max was no ordinary dog. He was a golden retriever with a coat like honey and eyes that held a quiet, knowing kind of love. A dog who didn't need words to say, "I'm here." A dog who watched not just with his eyes, but with his heart. He had been there the day the Thompsons brought Emma home from the hospital. From the moment her tiny fingers curled around his ear, Max knew this was his person, this little human. His job wasn't to bark or play fetch anymore. It was to protect. Always taut tonight, Max was uneasy. He lifted his head, ears twitching. The air had changed. Not cold exactly, but heavier, electric, like the world was holding its breath. Downstairs, Emma's parents, Tom and Martha, were finishing dinner when the wind started picking up. The screen door rattled. A few plates trembled on the shelves. Tom checked his phone. "Storm warning's been upgraded," he said, frowning. "Didn't think it was supposed to hit until tomorrow." Martha glanced toward the stairs. "Emma's already down. Should I wake her?" Tom shook his head. "No, Max is with her. She's safer with him than anyone." They both believed it. Max had a sixth sense. He barked at open windows, refused to leave Emma's side when she had a fever, and once blocked her from crawling down the front porch steps. He knew before they did. Upstairs. Max stood up. That second rumble closer louder. He padded quietly to the window, looking out into the darkening yard. The trees were swaying hard now. Leaves tore loose and flew like frightened birds. The cloud stick, bruised purple, gathered like an army on the horizon. Max let out a low growl, not of anger, but alertness. He turned back toward the crib. Emma stirred slightly, a tiny sigh escaping her lips. She was still asleep, her little face calm, innocent. Max stepped closer, resting his chin on the edge of the crib, watching, listening. Then it happened. Boom. A massive crack of thunder exploded overhead. The power died. In an instant, the entire house plunged into darkness. Emma woke up crying. Downstairs, Martha screamed. "The lights, Tom. I'm getting the flashlight." The storm had arrived. Not a drizzle, not a summer shower. A beast of a storm. The kind that doesn't knock, it kicks down the door. Upstairs, Emma's room was suddenly cold. The nightlight was out. The window shuddered in its frame. Wind howled like wolves through the trees outside. Max barked once, deep and fierce. A warning, a promise. Emma kept crying. Max circled the crib, barked again. He knew what storms could do. He didn't know the word for tornado, but he remembered the last time the wind ripped a tree from the ground just yards from the house. He remembered the panic, the fear in Tom's voice, the rush of emergency radios and sirens. He also remembered where he was needed, right here. He scratched at the nursery door. No response. The stairwell was quiet. Too quiet. Downstairs, Tom and Martha tried to get to her, but the ceiling in the hallway had cracked bits of drywall and insulation blocking the steps. Tom yelled into the upstairs void. "Max, stay with her." But Max already had. He lay down in front of the crib, body tense, ears sharp. Thunder cracked again, and the entire window frame shook violently. Emma wailed. Max didn't move, not an inch, because this wasn't just a storm. This was a test of love, of loyalty, of everything that makes a dog more than just A pet. This was the moment Max had been preparing for since the day Emma was born. No matter what came through that window, no matter how loud the thunder roared, he was ready because she was his girl and he was her guardian. The storm had come for the house, but it would have to go through Max first. Another deafening crack of thunder split the sky like a whip. And this time, it was closer, much closer. The storm was no longer approaching, it was here. Rain slammed against the farmhouse like fists. Windows groaned. Shingles peeled from the roof like paper. The night had turned wild, feral. And in the middle of it all, on the second floor of that trembling house, was a baby, alone in a crib, with only a dog standing between her and the chaos. Max. The lights were out, the nightlight gone, the stars hidden. The only flashes came from the jagged streaks of lightning ripping across the sky. Max stood rigid, fur bristling, body coiled like a spring. He was soaked, now the cold rain had blown in through the cracks in the old window frame. But he didn't flinch. His eyes were locked on Emma, who was sobbing now, confused and afraid. Her tiny hands reached through the bars of the crib as if searching for someone familiar in the dark, and Max moved in. He pressed his head gently into her fingers. She gripped his ears like they were a lifeline. They were downstairs. Her parents were in full panic mode. "The stairs are blocked," Tom yelled, his voice straining over the roar of the wind and the crashing of debris above. A ceiling beam had come loose. The hallway was crumbling. "Tom, we have to get to her," Martha cried. Her eyes were wide with fear, filled with one thought. Tom grabbed a flashlight and tried to climb over the wreckage. "Max is with her," he said, voice shaking. "Max is with her. He won't let anything happen." Upstairs, the wind made its move. Crash. The window in Emma's room shattered completely. Glass exploded inward like a wave of knives. A massive gust of rain and cold air blasted into the room. Curtains flew like ghosts. The temperature dropped in seconds. Emma screamed. Max leaped knee in. One swift, fearless motion. He threw himself between the crib and the broken window, glass cutting into his paws as he landed. Blood mixed with rainwater, staining the nursery floor. His body blocked the wind. His back took the brunt of the storm. He growled, loud and savage, as if daring the sky to try again. And in that moment, he wasn't just a dog. He was a barrier, a wall. A soldier. Emma crouched in the crib, clinging to the edge, wide-eyed and sobbing. Max turned and licked her hand once, a single silent message. "I'm here. You're safe." The wind howled harder, furious that it had been denied. Then came the second hit. A tree branch thick and jagged hurled through the gaping window like a spear. It smashed into the far side of the room, sending a drawer flying. Toys skittering across the floor. One leg of the crib splintered. Max barked, fierce and primal. Not out of fear but defiance, he took a stance in front of the crib. Paws splayed, muscles tight, bleeding. Dripping but standing, he would not back down. Not while she was breathing, not while he was breathing below. Tom tried calling out again. "Max, stay with her." Martha sobbed. "Please, please." They couldn't get to her. Not yet. So they hoped, they prayed, and they held on to one thing. It's the only thing stronger than the storm: Max. The wind screamed louder now, shaking the house like a beast trying to tear it apart. Rain poured in through the open window. It's the nursery. Looked like a war-zone: glass, branches, overturned furniture. Emma's crib trembled, tilted on the cracked leg. Still, didn't move from his post. Every bone in his body ached, his vision blurred from the cold and pain. But he stayed, because that's what love does, because that's what loyalty is. Hours passed like minutes. Or maybe it was minutes that felt like hours. Time doesn't work the same during storms like these. If you don't watch the clock, you count heartbeats. And Max. He gave every last heartbeat for her. Eventually the thunder softened. The wind, exhausted, began to die down. The storm was moving on. It hadn't won, because it couldn't get past him. Max. stayed upright until the wind was truly gone. Then, only then, he collapsed slowly beside the crib. Not unconscious, just tired, spent. Guard duty over. Mission complete. Emma was quiet now. She reached down and laid her hand gently on his head. Max wagged his tail just once, and that was enough. Silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the heavy, eerie silence that comes after chaos. The storm had moved on, but the damage was done. Rain still dripped from broken gutters. Wind still moaned through cracks. But the fury was over. The house had survived. Barely. The nursery was wrecked. The window gone. The floors soaked. Toys, blankets, glass, all scattered like the room had been turned upside down. One leg of Emma's crib was broken, causing it to tilt unstable. And Max was still there. He lay curled beside the crib, his fur soaked through, streaked with dirt and blood. Cuts from the shattered glass lined his paws. One of his ears was torn. He was shivering, not from fear but from pain and exhaustion. His muscles ached. Every breath was a small battle, but his eyes stayed open, watching. Her. Emma had stopped crying. She sat up now in her crib, looking down at Max with wide, silent eyes. Her tiny hands clutched the edge. She didn't understand storms. She didn't understand danger. But she understood him. She reached down, fingers brushing his fur. Max lifted his head slightly, just enough to nuzzle her hand. His tail moved just once, a weak, tired wag. The wind blew in again through the broken window, colder now. Emma whimpered at the chill, her bottom lip quivering. Max pushed himself upright. Slowly, painfully, he walked, limped to the other side of the room where her blanket had blown. His teeth found it. He dragged it back across the floor, piece by piece. He pulled it into the crib. Then he lay back down. A soft thud. A sigh. He was still her shield. Even now downstairs, Tom and Martha were doing everything they could to clear the debris. The fire department was on the way, but the damage was worse than they thought. Fallen beams, collapsed insulation, shattered furniture. The staircase was blocked tight. Tom gasped, forcing his way over a broken doorframe. She's alive. I know she is. Max wouldn't let anything happen. Martha's eyes were red, her hands trembling. I just want to hear her cry. I want to hear something. But upstairs, Emma wasn't crying. She was safe. Because Max had made sure of it. Minutes dragged. The wind quieted. The rain softened to a drizzle. Somewhere in the distance, the sound of sirens pierced the night finally. But Max didn't react. His job wasn't over. Not until they got to her, until he could see them, smell them. No, they were close. Emma laid her head on the crib rail. Still watching him, she didn't make a sound. She just watched Max. Blinked slowly. The pain was worse now. His breathing. Shallow, but he wouldn't sleep. Not yet. Not until she was in their arms. The firefighters broke through the front door and climbed the damaged stairs carefully, stepping over rubble, cutting through collapsed beams. The house groaned with every footstep. Baby's room. One of them shouted. They pushed open the broken door and stopped. They didn't expect what they saw. Not a screaming baby. Not a panicked animal, but a soaked golden retriever, cut and bleeding, lying beside a crib like a soldier at rest. His eyes opened as they entered. He didn't bark, didn't growl. He knew. Help had come. Emma reached out to them, and Max finally closed his eyes. He had done it. He had held the storm at bay. Alone. He had protected her through the worst night of their lives, and now she was safe. Sunlight, pale and quiet. It crept across the battered floorboards of the Thompson house like a silent apology. The storm was gone. In its place, morning stretched over Maple Hollow, still and breathless. As if afraid to disturb what remained, the fire truck was gone. So was the ambulance, but inside the farmhouse. In the master bedroom, now turned makeshift, nursery, baby Emma slept soundly, wrapped in fresh blankets, her tiny chest rising and falling in soft, peaceful rhythm. Martha sat beside her, eyes never leaving her daughter's face. Tom stood near the window, arms crossed tightly as if holding something inside that might break loose, and on the thick comforter at the foot of the bed lay Max. Still, quiet, wrapped in clean towels, bandaged, bruised, alive, barely. The vet had done what she could, cleaned the wounds, stitched the cuts, given him something for the pain. But she said what they already knew. He'd lost a lot of blood. His front leg was swollen from bruising, his ribs likely cracked. His body was exhausted, but he had refused to be carried. When the firefighters found Emma, Max had stood on his own, limping, bleeding, but standing because she had needed him to. Now, the house was quiet, the chaos was over, but something else hung in the silence, a question. One they were afraid to ask, would he make it? Max stirred, a soft breath. His ear twitched. Martha noticed first. She leaned in. Tom, he moved. Tom rushed over Max. Max opened his eyes, slow, heavy, but real, and there across the room, stirred too. As if connected by something deeper than sound, Max lifted his head. Emma saw him. Her face lit up. She reached toward him, arms wide, unsteady but certain. Tom gently lifted her from the bed and carried her to Max. Easy, girl, he whispered. Go slow. Emma leaned forward in his arms, placing her tiny hand against Max's nose. Max licked it just once, a soft, slow, grateful lick. And then his tail moved, wagged, twice, weak. But enough tears rolled silently down Martha's cheeks. Tom bent down, pressing his forehead gently to Max's. You did it, buddy. You did it. Max closed his eyes again, but this time, not from pain. He was resting, truly resting. Later that afternoon, the neighbors came, helped clear the debris, boarded the broken windows, replaced the crib, brought food. Someone brought flowers. Someone else brought a framed picture of Max and Emma printed from an old phone photo. Word had spread about what he did, how he stood guard through the storm, how he shielded a child with nothing but courage and love. The town called him a hero, but the Thompsons didn't need convincing. They already knew. That night, Com carried Max to Emma's room. It had been cleaned, repaired just enough. A new window installed. The nightlight replaced. Max curled up at the foot of her crib. Emma leaned over the bars and dropped her stuffed bear beside him. Max pulled it close, and for the first time since the storm, he slept. Deep, peaceful, safe. Because his world, his girl, was safe too. And that was all he ever needed.